Thank you.
Chairman.
The Honourable Maurice Williamson.
Mr. Chairman, I thank the member John Hayes for those comments, and I too, as Minister, would like to make a few comments about vote customs in the estimates debate and talk about what I think are the three key priorities customs have set themselves, or that I as Minister have set for them, and they have delivered with fantastic results. Sir, the first of the three priorities we set customs when we came into government was to improve competitiveness, security and productivity at the border, to make sure, I guess, in a nutshell, that those goods we're trying to export out can go out as freely and as quickly as we can get them out, and anything coming into New Zealand as an import can cross our border quickly, be processed and get into the hands of those that it's bound for. And with regards to that, sir, I have to say that in the current or in the latest budget, the allocation of very large sums of money for what we call JBMS, the Joint Border Management System computer. Customs have been running on a very, very old-fashioned computer system called CUSMOD for a long time, and JBMS will make a huge difference to that. And part of the JBMS project is a thing called Trade Single Window. And I can't emphasise to members of this House more how important Trade Single Window module within JBMS is. It will mean that all our exporting companies who are doing trade with the rest of the world will file their papers or their electronic papers once and only once. And all of the necessary border agencies, the Food Safety Authority, MAF, Customs, maybe Immigration and a whole range of others, will have their databases populated automatically, and the productivity improvements that come from that are huge. But for me, sir, the second big issue for customs, and I promise you this is for me a passion, it was the increased disruption of supply chains for illicit drugs entering New Zealand, particularly methamphetamine and its precursors, through targeted operational activity. Sir, I am happy to go on record as saying there is no more ghastly drug on this planet than P, and the reason for that, sir, is it takes away anybody who's using it their ability to think rationally and behave sensibly. And I need only give reference to this House of people like Mark Burton and the killing of Carl Korkenbecker, or I can give things like William Bell at the Panmure RSA, or in my electorate, sir, I want to give you what I think is one of the most telling stories ever. A man walked into the Pakuranga pizza parlour, pointed a gun to the head of a young man who was working through his university studies called Marcus Doig, and he said to him, "Give us the money." Now, Marcus Doig did what he should have. He cooperated fully. He handed over everything that was in the till to this P-crazed individual. And then, sir, after having cooperated fully, he made Marcus Doig turn around, kneel down and shot him through the back of the head. And, sir, only 2 days later, that same individual went out to the ASB in Mangere, pointed a gun at a man called John Vaughan, who was again doing his job at the counter like any normal human being would be doing in a day. And when he said, "Give us the money," John Vaughan cooperated fully. But I emphasise to this House again, because the individual was brain crazed on P. He had no idea of the difference between right and wrong, and after John Vaughan had cooperated fully, he then shot him. A family man, that is a tragedy. And sir, I make no apology to this House as having given Customs an absolute directive about this stuff and the precursors, the ephedrines and the pseudoephedrines. And to my great delight, and I'm happy to report to this House, sir, that the interventions have been spectacular, and they have grown in numbers to the point that last year we reported over a tonne of this stuff was intercepted at the border. And when I went to China in October, sir, I was able to meet with the China Minister of Customs and persuade him that China was the main source of ephedrines and pseudoephedrines. And this is an interesting story to share with the House as well, Mr Chairman.
The Honourable Maurice Williamson.
Mr Chairman, I gained the impression after talking to the Chinese Minister of Customs after a while that he really didn't quite get it, because it would be like another minister coming to New Zealand and saying to a minister here, we want you to ban Vicks vapor rub. And I realised that because in China the ephedrines and pseudoephedrines are perfectly legal and you can buy them in the street, he looked at me with sort of a quizzical view about, well, why are you so concerned about this product? It's legal. And so I told him the Carl Kuchenbecker, Mark Burton stories and the William Bell and the Panmure RSAs and the Marcus Doigs. And as I went through those stories, you could see him visibly moved. He was quite taken by just how ghastly those ephedrines and pseudoephedrines were turned into product here. And he made a commitment which the next day we signed as a memorandum of understanding between ourselves and the Chinese government. And the level of cooperation now, sir, with their customs agency, including training of dogs to be able to sniff stuff that they had never thought of before because it wasn't a problem. I, sir, will leave this Parliament one day very proud of the fact that that product is the most evil product going, and Customs have done the most amazing job of their interceptions with it. But, sir, the other item in Customs, and there are many that I could spend a lot of time with here, and the whip wouldn't like it, but I will, telling you how proud I am, is the movement of technology into the whole platform of Customs. When I became the Minister, 75% of all of Customs' vote was personnel costs. And I made it clear to them that the world was changing and that technology was now coming, and coming in such speed that we needed to gear up for it. And one of those steps that I want to bring to people's attention in the House tonight is SmartGate. Sir, over 50% of all New Zealand and Australian passport holders are now using SmartGate to enter into our country. It means they walk up, they place their passport on a glass screen, they look at a camera, the camera says, yes, that's you, and away you go. And so far, from all our trials, we have never been able to get SmartGate to give a false positive. It has given some false negatives. It says we don't think this is you, and after a bit of checking we found the person had either lost weight or had a change of glasses or maybe whatever. But every now and then we've even tried to fool it with identical twins who have swapped their passports, and it has never yet given a false positive. That is fantastic news for us. It means Customs officers can be freed up to get on with the real hard yards of dealing with the nasties and the bad ones as they enter our border, and let the family who have been off to Disney World or Movie World or whatever, or the businessman who's been across the Trans-Tasman for the day to do some work, just go through the gates, be processed, come out the other side, and just be done like that. So, sir, even a member like Chris Finlayson, who has got some dodgy photos, can get through. I agree with that, sir. I am proud of that, and over 50% of it, and like Schumpeter's S-curve always does, that is just heading to the sky. Now, as I said, when I first became Minister, 75% of Customs expenditure was on personnel costs, on staff. It's down to about 2/3, and we expect by the end of this first term, when SmartGate is rolled out for both departures and arrivals, our personnel costs will be just under 50% of the total budget. We've already got departure gates at Auckland and rolling them out across Wellington and Christchurch. But, sir, here's the biggest leap forward. We are currently in a trial with a city pair of Auckland Gold Coast. And what that means is as you check out through Auckland and you put your passport onto the plinth and get your photo done, you get a card that clears you immediately into entry into Australia. And secondly, if you do the same in the Gold Coast, that's a city pair trial that we're ironing out some bugs, and my goal is by the end of this year to have both arrivals and departures linked in both directions and to get as near domestic experience as you can. And finally, sir, one of the other big achievements, using our secured export system that we've got with our people like Fonterra. We've been able to persuade the Americans to give us a special treatment in the United States. Our exports in the United States get special privileges and treatment, and, sir, we are the only country in the world to have such.
The question is that vote customs stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote lands stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote statistics stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote internal affairs stand part of the schedule. A call to Euro Flavel.
Kia ora no tata, kia ora te whare.